They say you're living good. Pretty lawns with fancy landscapes. She stares ahead with a blank gaze in her lovely neighborhood where the living is good.
And thank you and welcome back to Reverse Your Thinking. It is my pleasure this afternoon to introduce you to Jason Smith. Jason transformed his health, fitness, and subsequently his career at the age of 50. Yeah, you heard me, 50. That's right. He lost 25 kilos. I say that because he's British. That translates to 55 pounds for you of those that are listening in the United States. And self-cured health issues such as hypertension and high cholesterol, and developed a physique those half his age would be proud of. And considering the amount of people that we have overweight in the United States, this is a definitely prescient conversation. After witnessing the lack of older and relatable fitness trainers, Jason gave up his corporate job, qualified as a personal trainer and nutritional advisor, and launched his business Fit in Midlife. He is on a mission to help older people start and maintain a fitness journey that will impact every area of their lives. Jason, thank you so much for making the time to be here today.
It's an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much, Mathius, for the invitation. It's great to be here.
That's great. Fit in Midlife, that's the name of your company, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. So I read your bio and it gave a little bit of an insight into this, but maybe you could sort of fill in for us some of the important facts about what was your situation, right? And then what was the turning point? What was the tipping point that moved you from where you were to where you are today?
Okay, so I guess as a start point, during my 40s, my health, mentally and physically, my fitness, my attitude to life, my capability was slowly being eroded just by the day-to-day pressures of life, of work, of family, and everything that comes along with that. And I kind of felt like I was losing myself, losing my identity somewhat. Now, during this point, I had a very good senior position in a media company. I traveled a lot. I had great status, etc., through the job title, but I really felt guilty because, I'd got a son. At this point, he was between the ages of being born and eventually 5 when I decided to change some things. And I just felt I was neglecting him. I wasn't being a good father. I hardly saw him. The time that we had was very limited and generally, around his sleep time. And that created a big chasm inside of me. I just felt like I needed to do something about that. And so that was the start of a journey, really, which started off on a pretty rapid downward trajectory. As a result of that, I started drinking too much. I wasn't eating well. I wasn't getting any exercise. And my self-image was being slowly chipped away. And this continued for a good period of 4 years or so. And one of the strange things when I look back now, but I definitely remember thinking it at the time, is that when I looked around at the other guys that I knew, the other dads at his school, my friends from childhood, nobody seemed that much different to me. Nobody seemed like they were living, a great, happy, fulfilling life. Everybody seemed to be going through the same kind of things to a greater or lesser degree. And that gave me, I suppose, a degree of comfort, the comfort of being, well, this is just life and it's the way it is.
Misery loves company.
Exactly,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until, really things started to hit rock bottom that I thought I should go and talk to my doctor about this. And my
Hmm.
doctor did or arranged for a lot of tests to be done. And unbeknown to me, I had hypertension, I had high cholesterol, I had onset fatty liver, and I was well on my way to type 2 diabetes, all at the age of around 48. And
Mm.
that was frightening and shocking. I put on a lot of weight. I was on the I tipped over into the obesity category on the BMI
Mm.
scale.
Hmm.
And yet, that still wasn't enough for me to do something about it. In fact, it
Okay.
only actually made things worse. But now I was on medication to control at least the symptoms of all the ailments that I had. And eventually, one day, having had multiple days of really not feeling good about myself and looking in the mirror and thinking, what the hell are you doing with your life? Your life is wasting away before your eyes.
Hmm.
I was scrolling through Instagram. One Monday morning, I had a flight to Houston later that day. And so I was at home, getting myself ready, drinking a coffee. It was around 8:30 a.m. And I saw a post which was a picture of Bilbo Baggins. Now, Bilbo Baggins is the character of the Hobbit in
Hmm.
the J.R.R. Tolkien books and film. And this picture had Bilbo running through the Shire with a huge smile on his face and the words, "I'm going on an adventure," blazoned across the foot of the photograph.
Uh-huh.
And they stopped me in my tracks. And I just stared at this photograph because something in it really resonated with me. And I just thought, that's how I want to feel. I want to feel that energy. I want to feel that excitement. I want to feel life is an adventure. And I had a look at the detail of the guy who had posted this, not somebody that I knew well or anything like that,
Hmm.
um, and just saw that he had decided on New Year's Day as a New Year's resolution that he was going to make some changes in his life. And he posted this on the 21st of January, so 3 weeks later, telling the world that he was going on an adventure.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And
Okay.
I quickly concluded that the answer to my issues, the way that I was living my life, was my fitness and my health. And I therefore decided there and then I was going to change a lot of things. So
Hmm.
at that point, I got out a pen and paper. I drew a line down the middle, and I put all the things that I was going to stop on one side, and I put all the things that I was going to start on the other side. Now, I didn't have a lot of time that morning because I had a plane to prepare for, get to the airport, all of those kind of things. But I thought I am going to do something to prove that I have made a decision. So I dug out a pair of old sneakers from my garage, put them on, and I went for a run. I went for a run. It was actually more of a walk because I quickly felt exhausted.
Uh-huh.
But that was the best I felt about myself for a long, long time because I was doing something positive. I had shifted and it felt like I had escaped. And all
Hmm.
during the flight over to Houston, I had downloaded various books and various information sheets, and I just really devoured them during that flight. And I was
Uh-huh.
filling my head with, well, how do you get fit? How do you improve your health at this type of age? And from there on, I had a roadmap which I followed, and decided this is me now. This is my new life. The old Jason is gone. This is the
Uh-huh.
new Jason. And I think because I saw everything that I was changing, not as giving something up, because let's face it, the things that, you know, that put us in the kind of condition that I was in are to an extent enjoyable. You know, the ultra processed foods are normally quite tasty. Alcohol is quite enjoyable for lots of reasons, from the taste right through to the feeling that it gives you. You know, sitting on the couch watching entertaining film or series on Netflix is enjoyable. But I managed to associate all of those things not with enjoyment, but with despair, which is how I felt. And this new life of being vibrant, happy, active, doing all of these things was my new self-image, which is how I managed to keep things going, you know, and be dedicated to changing everything.
Gotcha. Okay. So obviously you're somewhat of a goal-oriented person. Yes? Okay.
Yes.
All right. And I understand what you're saying about that you decided to look out the windshield instead of in the rearview mirror, right? And pull yourself forward. But for most people, that moment that you found in yourself is an incredibly difficult um, spot to find yourself in, because you're talking about breaking all kinds of patterns, and we have all of these assumptions about what it's going to take to get there.
Yes.
Okay. Not the least of, and I'm speaking personally, not just for the group, as it were. Not the least of which is that it's going to take an enormous amount of time, all right, and dedication,
Sure.
and pain in order to achieve these things. What was your experience with that? What have you found? Is this the type of thing that somebody has to commit to, like, 3, 4, 5 hours a day to, or can it be, graduated up?
Absolutely. And it is a common misconception. So, you know, on my WhatsApp, for example, I jokingly have my status as at the gym, because people who know me think I spend my whole life at the gym, which is not true. However, so going back to those early stages, my goal was simply to make myself feel better. And if that was a 20-minute jog, or if that was a half-hour walk with my dogs, or if that was actually even going to a gym and joining up and becoming a member so that I could use it, those were all ticking the right box and confirming that I was moving towards my goal of feeling better for myself. It was as simple as that. And even today, so if I work out regularly, a mixture of cardiovascular and strength related and mobility exercises. So my typical day would start off with a 5-minute stretch routine in the morning, when I first get up, to kind of stretch and wake the body. At some point during the day, I will do a strength workout, which will typically be 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
And then on some days, in lieu of doing the strength workout, because we need to give our bodies and our muscles time to recover and repair, I will do a 25, 30-minute run. And that is typical of most days. So if you take out the 5 minutes of my stretching in the morning, my fitness regime is somewhere between 30 minutes and 45 minutes per day. That's it. And the misconception that a lot of people have is that, you do have to spend 2, 3, 4 hours in a gym to make significant improvements to your body. But science is proving that you can achieve more actually in a concentrated effort and a compressed time period than you can by prolonging your time working out. So as an example, with cardiovascular work, doing short bursts of intervals will give you a better cardiovascular health and fitness boost, and as good a calorie burn as doing a 1 hour, 1.5 hour run, cycle, whatever it may be.
Right. Right.
The same with working out in a gym. So
Mm-hmm.
I will work out regularly. That means that I don't do a full body workout each day. So
Uh-huh.
I will do, a push workout, which is typically chest, triceps, delts, shoulders.
Okay.
I will do a pull workout, which is back and biceps, and I will do a leg workout. But with all of those workouts, I compress the time. So I will have minimal rest in between each of the sets.
Uh-huh.
I will take my body to close to failure on each of those sets, which is normally a lot less than the standard, 12 or 10 repetitions. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, I'm able to get a great result from a strength and muscular development perspective in a much
Okay.
shorter period. And so by being sensible about how you structure things, you
Right.
can quite easily fit a really good and really effective workout
Uh-huh.
into what most people would think is too short a time period.
Well, let me ask you this. In the last few years, there have been, for lack of a better term, I'll call them miracle drugs on the
Mm,
market that people are using and celebrities are using to lose weight.
yes.
Um, they're very popular.
Mm,
Uh,
same
uh,
on this side of the Atlantic.
I have no doubt. Okay, I'm sure they're popular worldwide where people have
Mm,
disposable income to buy these things. Um, how would something like this fit into what you're talking about? Do you believe in these drugs? Do you see them as being an adjunct to what you're talking about?
absolutely.
Or are they or are they things you should stay away from?
No, I totally support them, particularly for people who are over, significantly overweight to the point
Uh-huh.
of obesity. Because let's face it, being at that kind of weight significantly increases your risk of all kinds of very serious ailments,
Right.
and therefore your priority should be to lose that weight. And as you said, the drugs are proven to be very effective in doing so.
Okay. S-
So, so absolutely big tick there.
Okay. Um,
However,
yeah.
one thing that they don't do, and this is particularly important for people in my kind of age group, so
Hmm.
midlife, and thinking ahead now in terms of longevity,
Right.
is that when you are losing that weight, you are losing a mixture of muscle and fat. Your
Mm.
body mass is just reducing across the board simply because you are eating less. Now, we know that our future independence is threatened by a condition called sarcopenia, which is the natural wastage of muscle as we age. That
Let me s-
occurs.
let me stop you right there. Okay.
Mm,
That's sarcopenia.
sarcopenia.
Okay. We're going
Mm.
to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to delve into the definition of that and exactly how it ties into all the things that you're talking about. You're listening to Reverse Your Thinking, and we'll be right back after this. And welcome back to Reverse Your Thinking. Our guest this week, Jason Smith. Jason, just before the break, you gave us the $3 word sarcopenia. All right.
Mm.
Tell us, what does that mean and how does that tie into what we're talking about?
Okay, so sarcopenia is the natural decline in muscle mass over time, which
Hmm.
occurs typically from the age of 40 onwards. As we
Okay.
age, the rate of decline increases, but from the age of about 45, you're looking at losing around about 1% to 2% of your muscle mass each and every year, which may not sound that much, when you think of it just on an annual basis, but the compound impact of that over a
Hmm.
number of years is very, very significant.
Sure.
And it is the biggest reason why people lose their independence naturally. You know, it's not necessarily just down to age. It's down to the inability of an individual to support themselves, to be able to get up from a chair, get up out of bed, all of those kind of things without assistance from a nurse or a member of the family, which is typically what happens.
So
Now,
let me ask you a question. All right. So I mean, I've heard people give excuses for not getting in shape. I don't have time. I don't have money. I can't hire a coach. I mean, there's all of these things. All right. I don't like gyms. All right.
yes.
Who are you working with predominantly in fit in midlife? All right. Who is your core demographic in terms of your clients?
So it's typically men and women,
Mhm.
roughly a 50-50 split between the two,
Okay.
who are between the ages of 45 and 60, typically,
Oh, okay.
although it does extend to younger and older people who have a goal to either lose weight or to protect themselves by developing strength so that they develop longevity, so that they maintain their independence into the future.
Okay. All right.
Those are the typical reasons why I end up working with people.
Mm-hmm.
So this condition of sarcopenia is becoming, and longevity as a general theme is becoming more and more prevalent in the media, and therefore people's awareness of it is rising, and
Sure.
that in itself is enough to make a lot of people think, yeah. And typically, people in our kind of age group, we know people who are older than us, our parents, our aunts, uncles, etc., etc. And at some point,
Right.
we will have, potentially have visited care homes, hospitals, etc., and seen people who have lost their independence, possibly a little too early. They don't look old enough to be in the kind of condition that they're in and requiring the help that they require. And so you have a vision of yourself in the future then, and that's not a vision that is very attractive, and a lot of people will therefore want to do something about it and introduce some kind of strength training to their life in order to guard against that in the future.
How long have you been working with people in midlife?
For 6 years now.
6 years now. Okay.
Yeah.
And um, can you give us sort of a before and after situation for one of your clients?
Yeah.
Maybe how you were able to both physically and psychologically get them from point A to point B.
Okay, so I'll give you a very topical and recent
Sure.
example of Sarah. Now, Sarah is 61 now. I started working with her when she was 58.
Okay.
And when I
3 years.
first met her, so 3 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I first met her, she was a typical 58-year-old lady. She was a little bit overweight. She did, some exercises, predominantly walking, which helped keep weight down. But when it came to, strength workouts and more extreme cardiovascular work, that was all new to her. As an example, she couldn't run, she couldn't squat, she couldn't get down,
Okay.
or if she did get down, she couldn't get back up again from a low squat position.
All right.
And so over time, I worked with her on a step-by-step basis. Clearly, you're not going, it's not like a flick of the switch and magically she is, able to do all of these things. So, using things like TRX to support her to help develop her squat strength, introducing cardiovascular work on treadmills and what we call cross trainers, you guys call ellipticals, to build her stamina and to build her heart capacity. And over time, keep adding things into the program, all of which covers the physical aspects of her development.
Okay.
I also just kept reaffirming my belief in her, that, so any achievement that she made, we celebrated properly. And, when she was saying, I can't do that, well, let's just try and keep motivating, encouraging, and rewarding the achievements that she was able to achieve. And, over time, she's gone from where she was, not that fit, to learning how to run. She started to enter into local events, so 5K races, 10K races, etc. Her strength has developed incredibly. So from going from not being able to even do a body weight air squat to now being able to squat, with a pretty significant weight, so roughly, say, another 25 kilograms or so that she's squatting with, either on her back or in a goblet squat position, through to all kinds of activities. And it really came to the fore just a couple of weeks ago, where she entered an event called High Rocks. Now, High Rocks is a pretty grueling event. It's very big in the fitness industry right now. And it consists of 10 exercises. So things like burpees, wall balls, walking lunges, farmer's carries, and lots of different exercises, all interspersed with a 1 kilometer run. Okay, so you spend about 2 hours doing this event.
Wow.
And she did it. She did it. She got through it. We trained for it, and she traveled to Rome, Italy, and she did it. And you've never seen her smile so big. And of course, during all of this, her body has changed massively, both in appearance and capability.
No doubt. That sounds quite amazing. And it also makes me wonder about what is necessary psychologically to get from point A to point B in this. And I want to spend a little time talking more about that, because I think that's where people need to start in order to get the body moving. Let's take a short break and we'll get into that. You're listening to Reverse Your Thinking, and I'm your host, Mathius Gertz. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back to Reverse Your Thinking. Jason, I wanted to take a moment and talk about some of the psychology in relation to this, because you said something that struck me. You talked about celebrating little victories, and it's and I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of berating myself for all my shortcomings, but never patting myself on the back for doing something good or doing something correctly, even if it's a tiny thing. How important is that? Just establishing, being your own best cheerleader. How important is that to achieving the goals that you're talking about?
It's very, very, very important. And part of the reason is that the thing that limits us isn't necessarily always our capability. It's our thoughts. And we typically are more negative than we ought to be, really. And so the I can't type of attitude needs to be overcome. And by celebrating each little success, and on some days that might just be that you got out of bed, you put your gym clothes on, and you went to the gym. Just walking through the door is a success.
Yep.
But it might be that you run a little bit faster, or in my case, when I first started, that I was doing less walking and more running over time. So that was something to celebrate. It might be that you are capable of lifting an extra pound or two in when you're doing your bench press or whatever
Sure.
other exercise. But celebrating each of those successes starts to chip away at the I can't, because you then start to think, well, I can. I've proved it by doing it, and I feel really good about doing it because I celebrated it. And so that process, on a kind of rinse and repeat, is really, really important in terms of being able to develop not so much your physical ability, but you will keep pushing yourself harder,
Right.
but that mental ability to drive you forward with the belief that you
Sure.
can do it.
Sure. Do you coach people? I obviously you coach people in person, but do you do it remotely too?
I do. I coach people all over the world, a lot
Oh,
in the US, online, as well as obviously local people,
uh-huh.
in person. And the thing that's important is that all of those clients are the same, and I treat them all the same. So I will
Uh-huh.
be having those kind of conversations. I will be celebrating their success. I will be motivating them, encouraging them, in exactly the same way as I would be if I was stood next to them in a gym locally.
Most people, I think, I could be wrong, but most people, especially if they're out of shape, um, don't feel inside or in here that they can. They
Yeah,
they they feel that it's impossible to be able to accomplish these things themselves, which of course is the reason why a coach is so valuable
yes.
in regard to do that. But many people will then throw up another roadblock and they'll say, "Well, I can't afford a coach. I don't have any extra money for that." Well,
Mm.
what do you say to those people?
So, the, well, number one, coaching is not as expensive as you might imagine it to be.
Okay.
So if you were to drink one less Starbucks a day, you would be able
Mhm.
to afford a coach. That
Wow.
that is
Okay.
what we're talking about. And so when you think of it in that way, and if you're having a large latte, not only are you
You
investing the
shouldn't be
money in a
drinking
better
that anyhow,
place,
right?
you're actually giving your body
Uh-huh.
a treat too.
Yeah.
But so it's not as expensive as people think. Now,
Uh-huh.
when people say to me, I can't afford it, my first reaction is that they can afford it. It's more of a I don't want to afford it. It's
Ah,
there's something else that's limiting their their follow through and actually working
sure.
with a coach. And I'm sure many other coaches will say the same. And so you
Uh-huh.
have to get to that reason. And the reason typically is some sort of self-belief. And it is
Yeah.
then translated into a risk, a fear of failure, a fear of making a fool of yourself and looking silly. Um,
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it can be a fear of success as well, but
Yeah.
that's a more rare condition. And so you have to
Sure.
get to that point really, and get people to see themselves as they want to be, because a lot of the people that I work with, they are they have a vision that they want to achieve, a self-image that they want to achieve. People want to
Right.
lose weight, they're visualizing themselves thinner, healthier, leaner than they currently are. People
Sexier.
who are preparing for longevity see
Uh-huh.
themselves at the age of 80 or higher being able to play with the grandkids and be active and all of those kind of things. So you have to really focus on those reasons why somebody wants to do it, and to get them to believe that they can do it. That's the key
You,
element.
one of the interesting things about that is that psychologically, I'm not sure humans are designed to think of themselves living to 100. It's only relatively recently, and modern medicine has had a lot to do with that as well. Okay. And I have no doubt that you address some of those things when you take on a new client, whether it be in person or virtually. But if somebody that's listening to us today wants to inquire, wants to look into you and fit in midlife, what's the best way to research you or to get in touch with you?
Well, you can find me on social media, all of the social media, with the under the name Fit in Midlife, all one word, or you can get me on fitinmidlife.com. So those are my consistent names.
Those are the two best ways to get in touch with you is that or on the website.
Yes.
I said, okay, terrific. Well, Jason, it was an absolute pleasure to bring you in today. I have no doubt that at the very least, there are people in our audience that are rolling it around in their heads now. And I certainly hope they go to fitinlife.com and look into giving up that latte a day and bringing you into their life to improve their longevity.
Me too.
And you have been listening to Reverse Your Thinking. If you're on your way home, please get home safe. And when you get there, make sure you give your family a big hug. We'll see you again right here, same time, next week.
Where the living is good.